Hi, welcome to the next episode of Currency. All that I have to offer you is my honesty and the vitality that I have because of my beating heart that pumps life into me. And I want that life to continue. So I just love it. I love this. I don't want to discriminate against this one religion all the time. It's just that like there's a lot of shit there. There's a lot of shit going on with the church. Like whatever's coming out of a pastor's mouth is a bunch of shit. Like please somebody say that. I hate being reacted to because I'm against the Christian belief system. That's the fucking thing that I got. That's the hand that I'm dealt. I'm tired of it. I don't want to be the Antichrist. I don't want to say that. I want somebody to come around and do it better than me. I don't want to be a leader. I don't want to be any of those. I don't want to be the guy that's against Christianity. It makes everybody fucking hate me. People don't want to take the word Antichrist seriously. It's not a joke. It's not that funny. It's not like, I can't go up on stage. I don't believe I haven't even tried. That's how unfunny it must be to me. To be the Antichrist is not that funny. Especially, I would say that what I'm doing is more a joke than, saying it is more of a joke than that it's serious. For me, because I'm not famous already, and that's obvious, and I feel like I just forget that nobody's seen anything I've ever done on this podcast. The first thing they click on is like I'm saying I'm the Antichrist. I've sufficiently explained. No, maybe I haven't. I would like to sufficiently explain that I'm not famous at all, and nobody who would give a rat's ass about this guy. That's the only evidence we have, especially when the world just cares about the way that you talk to other people, the way that you find yourself in other people. And then I'm on here just as like a solo, I'm alone. People don't really love that much because what people care about is the way that you express yourself or decentralize yourself, deconcentrate yourself through other people, into the lives of other people, the way that other people absorb and take on your existence and take on the burden of you. People like to see that you are able to diversify yourself through other people, disperse yourself through other people. I give you a lot of words because this is a synonyms podcast. Synonyms.com. Check it out. It's a website for synonyms. I'm guessing. I don't know, but I haven't been to it. I haven't visited it. Seriously, check out synonyms.com. You'll find all kinds of synonyms. You'll find all kinds of this word and then this word means other words. Translations of a word. It's really like language translation for one word. It's like English isn't one language. It's very many. It's like a million. It's as many words as are in English as many languages are in English. Every word is a language. Every word is a language. I am a conspiracy theorist, maybe, hopefully, but like there's a lot of like bad conspiracy theory. There's a lot of crap. At least I'm giving you something. I mean, here I am. At least I'm complaining about what I'm doing. At least I'm complaining about the responses I get for me being at least that. At least you get to hear me complain. You don't always get to hear that. But I mean, I give you real theory, whether you believe it or not. You just take it from me. I'm giving you some real conspiracy theory, and that's one of my conspiracy theories. Is that all you have to do is that you just got to take my word for it. You just got to take my word for it. That's a conspiracy. Sure, it's a conspiracy. Sure, it's a theory. But, I mean, my belief is that there's truth to it, and that's kind of the conspiracy. The conspiracy is that, well, you should just eat. even though it looks like one guy is presenting his own theories, if I say take my word for it, you should take my word for it, and it is true. The conspiracy is that conspiracy theorists like myself are right. You just have to it's just that you have to believe them. And that's the theory. Okay. You like that one? Existential, you know? Existential, I've got nothing but joy in my fucking heart for the patrons and for the subscribers. I just want a fan base. I do have a fan base already. I just don't want to. I don't want to insult them in any way. So I'm just trying to say positive whatever. I know that it makes it kind of difficult, like, oh, you're trying to give it a positive appearance when you're telling people you're the Antichrist. It's just that, folks, you have to understand here. Folks, you have to... I mean, there's so much shitty conspiracy theory out there. I think that you have to respect the logic of what I'm doing. Did you hear that? I'm being serious. That's another one of my conspiracy theories. You have to respect the logic. It's part of the overall gist of the entire thing. You have to respect... Oh, well, you have to respect the logic of what I'm saying. But in all seriousness, for real this time, like, the logic that I present, the theory that I present is unlike any other. I seriously believe that in the hollow earth, that there's alien civilizations that live within the earth, but it's about the vitality. It's about tapping into words like vitality, like just say vitality and you're feeling alive. Get out there and jog around so that you feel like you're moving. All I have is advice. But, like, obviously all this shit coming out of a pastor's mouth is bullshit. Right? Are we in the business of listening to experts? In the business of listening to experts, or just people that are like, oh, I'm gonna craft a thing for these people. Like, that guy's not an expert. You're just pretending that he's called by God. You're doing it for fun. It's a long joke. The Christians like a long, lifelong joke. That's how they derive fun out of their lives. Christians derive fun by getting married in front of their friends and having kids in front of their friends. That's very fun. Yeah, of course, that is fun. And I'm not being sarcastic. Like, that's fun when you do that. I would like to get in on it. I'd like to get in on the fun, too. And I'm just being honest. That's the kind of fun that they have, because they make it difficult on themselves to accomplish that. It can be done by just about, by a lot of people. A lot of people have the ability to get married. It's not like a skill, you know. Christians, no offense, that's kind of what you do. Christian people, that's kind of what you do, is you make it this very difficult task to have a family. It's not like that is what makes you talented. Makes you talented to have a family. But, like, it's just that, like, I was giving you a bunch of words like people just want to see you be able to relate yourself to other people. They like that world. Whereas I'm giving you the world of, look, as me related through all of these different words, all of these different ideas dispersed through that. That's what I give you is just like some word association, if nothing else. Because that might be helpful to you. You might have anxiety or something or you might not be perfect, you know, or you might, if you're just somebody who uses words all the time, like anybody does. Everybody's posting nothing but bullshit everywhere. Okay. Yes, what I'm doing is bullshit. Thank you very much. Thanks. I'm giving you my bullshit is very rich. I'm giving you a lot of words. I give you a lot of synonyms and a lot of words. Let me talk about love. It's not. You don't need to call it a conspiracy. Like the things that I'm saying, that's another part of my conspiracy theories. Like you don't need to call it a conspiracy. As long as we're saying that, as long as all of it is like, oh, we don't know what you're saying, everything's fake, everything's a lie. Why don't you just shut the fuck up about everything's a lie? Oh, that's a conspiracy theory. How about it's real as well? But I already know that I'm up against it. I'm gonna start a Ghost Investigations podcast. I look into it, and what's kind of the discourse about like a spirit box, one of these things that scans frequencies in order to pick up a word in the environment around you, and then like that word that you hear is a ghost. That's what the ghost is saying. And I looked up like Reddit impression of what's the deal with spirit boxes, or in other words, like what are the critics saying about it, I guess. But it's just like generally accepted that these spirit boxes are dumb. Like I've seen the way that people describe the spirit boxes. You can get 300 testimonies from people that would be like, I used it and I talked to the other side and I asked questions and they responded to the questions like a conversation happened and it's like undeniable and like whatever. People can get 300 testimonies of people or more than that, not just 300 of them. I'm just using like a big number to describe. I was trying to be hyperbolic. But then it sounded like I was saying exactly 300, like the movie 300, which I think is based on a real figure of the amount of however like Spartans that had to fight. So 300 is a more realistic number as a result, just in pop culture. So I shouldn't get into the territory of, there's a lot of stigma surrounding 300, the number, where it's like real as opposed to fake. Whereas like most big numbers, it's like, 40 million, fake. The higher you go, the faker it gets. Numbers. The higher in numbers you go, the faker it gets because the fewer data points there are for that number, fewer times it's referenced in pop culture, ultimately. Fewer times that number is, like, the fewer times it's going to be referenced anywhere. Not just pop culture, just person to person. But person to person is pop culture. The lie is that pop culture is this thing that's governed by the tastemakers and the celebrities. And so that's what we find out through the decentralization of celebrity into Instagram and YouTube influencers or whatever. Now it's everybody's a celebrity. And pop culture is a lie because pop culture is just what's happening around you. It's not, and it's the same with famousness. Nobody's famous, right? So don't get on me for being like, oh, he thinks he's famous. Yeah, everybody's fucking famous. Get over yourself. You're famous too, buddy. You're fucking famous as well. You don't just cause everybody's fucking famous. Get over your fucking selves. You don't get to get on me for being famous. Fuck you. Pop culture's not even real. Pop culture is not even real. It's just like everything that's happening around you that's popular to you. That's all that you can see. That's all that you know. So if you go to 500,000, 540,391, basically, maybe nobody's ever referenced that number ever, but it's like the higher you get, the faker it is. For numbers, that's how numbers work. There's a real versus a fake in any single category. It's interesting that the one in numbers is you can so clearly define it. But I'm saying, I don't want to use 300 to communicate that I'm saying like a fake number or a hyperbolic number, because pop culture has stigmatized the number 300 to be based on stay with me here. 300 is because, like, 300 is a movie. You're like, 300. People would probably think of the movie before anything else. If you are just like, I don't know. No, 300. It's just like, there aren't that many movies that are based on the number. That somebody's tried to make a big phenomenal impact. And that movie was, by today's standards, a phenomenon. By today's standards, no movie's a phenomenon now. By today's standards, 300 was a phenomenon. So it's like memorable. But since it's like, oh, that's the real number of the amount of Spartan soldiers, or whatever country it was, Athens, but they didn't call them countries, or whoever it is, Peloponnesia, Athens, Rome, Sparta, the Trojan horse. Are you getting excited? For some reason that excites people. The Peloponnesian Wars, Athens, Greece, Troy, Rome, Greek gods, Aphrodite, the gods of love, whatever. Sparta, 300 soldiers fought the Mediterranean Sea. 300 BC, that time period. The Roman Empire, the Roman Empire. Who's not getting excited about that? Same as vitality. Oh, now you're interested. Because I have a lot of vitality. It's easy to have vitality. Just look, if you're about to kill yourself, you're about to die, just start saying vitality over and over again. Then you'll be revived. Words are the ointment to life. They're the remedy, would be a more attractive way of saying it. Remedy and ointment, very close in meaning, very different in terms of prettiness and ugliness, how they sound. Ointment. Did you guys put on your ointment today? I woke up, put on my ointment, took a shower, then ran out the door. After I put my ointment on, it was part of my morning routine. What kind of ointment was it? Various remedies, herbal. I put on holistic ointment all over my body to get me prepared for work. Don't scoff at me. I'm smart. That's what that means. I'm smart. That's all that it means. I'm interested in my conspiracy theory that, like, you should just believe me. And that's a theory. It's funny to me. As funny as it can be. I know that, like, nobody actually cares about what I'm doing over here. But, like, pop culture it's all popular. It's all popularly happening. Around everything you see, it's not, the things that I'm saying, like, your knowledge base, your database, what you know, that is the extent of what is popular to you. And so you wouldn't need to say, like, these celebrities over here dictate what popular culture is. It's a big lie. It's a big lie about relevance and, like, oh, I hope I do this to be relevant. Obviously, you gotta play that game and you gotta be relevant. It's dictated by, it's dictated by religions. I mean, I don't believe that. I believe it's dictated by Christianity specifically, because they are current, and that's what they have given themselves over to. That's what they sacrifice. They're like, what makes us right is if we follow Christ, because he's the guy that we as a world worship all the time, But I'm tired of I don't want to keep repeating these same things. I want to have vitality. I want to be vital. Does it make you... I want to be an essential worker. So I hope that it makes me vital. Maybe I can get there if I say vitality enough. It's like, you don't get to write me off as somebody who wants to be famous. It's all... everybody's at the same level of fame now, and obviously that's all just like a fucking joke. But, it's not my fault that works better when the Kardashians do it. When they're not famous, they're like, we're famous, and everyone's like, oh, fuck yeah. For some reason, I don't have the same appeal as the Kardashians do. Fuck me. Fuck me for wanting to be a Kardashian. It's fucking not working out. Thought if I said I'd be the Antichrist and people would fucking know that I was like a Kardashian, but, you win some, you lose some. And I wonder what I was going into when I said that about the numbers. 300... No, the spirit boxes. That's what I was talking about. You'll find fucking 1,000 people with a testimony of, like, oh, I seriously talked to ghosts with the spirit box, but however the dialogue of it, or like the narrative surrounding it, is just like, yeah, that shit doesn't work and they're just conning people. Anybody who thinks that that's real is an idiot because it's just taking random responses from frequency and there's nothing coherent about it. There's nothing intelligent or deliberate about the speech that you receive back from a spirit box, whatever. So I know that I'm up against it with, like, people treat conspiracy theories the same. I know that I'm up against it when it's like, clearly, fucking obviously, there's meaning to be found in these spirit boxes. That, like, oh, you can communicate to the other side, there's something meaningful there. Especially when everybody wants to be like, oh, 100% there's no meaning, everything, it's just random. When you can, like, oh, listen to somebody who, like, oh yeah, I talked to whatever, like some spirit for hours and they said all of this and like said their name, or they have a testimony like my daughter's friend died and then like the spirit box, he was communicating to me the next day but I didn't know that he was dead. Like there's nothing but all kinds of stories like that. But that doesn't mean anything when somebody communicates through a spirit box to somebody they know that died that they didn't know was yet dead, and they're like, you know, it's just for some reason we write all that off for some reason, and it has to do with the power of narration is a lot more powerful than you understand. And for those reasons, I cannot go up against the megalithic Christian church as just one guy. I'm not strong enough. You have to do a lot of fucking work because there's a lot of shit that the church is putting out. There's a lot of bullshit you have to make it through in order to succeed. It's a lot of shit. Just say you're the Antichrist. It's a real can of worms. Why is a can of worms a problem? It's because, like, why is a can of worms complicated? The Christian church is just a big can of worms, okay? And me saying the Antichrist kind of, like, gets to the root of it. Just, like, Christian people are like, this is the answer. All the athletes that are like, I believe in God to win this game. Like, oh, that's the answer. You gotta believe in God. It's all about simplicity. That's just half of the fucking argument. It's also all about complicatedness. But it's just the people that are like, you have to reduce it to simplicity. It's all I do is believe in Christ my Savior. Which they do to be relevant, because you can't look irrelevant. Which it's just a big lie, because everybody is relevant already, right? I'm here and I'm talking. So is everyone. Everyone's here and they're talking. We're all, oh, I just played, like shuffleboard. That's just for old people. You can go out and play it right now as a 24-year-old and like, oh shit, shuffleboard's relevant to you and in the world. Everything you're doing is relevant all the time. It's just that we have a belief system that's hijacked relevance, where they're making everybody live in comparison to it. And if I die, I didn't kill myself. The FBI might off me. That's how truthful the things that I'm saying are. That's how real this is. What, don't you have to live in comparison to Christ all the time because a Jesus Christ timeline, right? No? How is that not true? Nobody wants to say that to me. No Christian wants to respond to that to me. All they want to do is be, I don't remember if I said this already, they just want to be like the way that the Jews treated Jesus. They just want to treat me with complete, that's false or whatever. They don't want to go into what I'm saying. The same as the Jews denied Christ, the Christians will deny the Antichrist. No bones about it. Love is a burning thing, but I have to tell you, like, everybody needs to check their love. Everybody needs to check how lovable you are, because there's so much pro-love. It's a result of communism from religions, functional communism. Communism has succeeded just fine for years and years and years. It happens within religions. There's this lie out there that communism has never worked. That's because it doesn't work when you do it governmentally or you try to carry it out absolutely. Churches do it relatively and they do it just fine. Communism functions fine. It happens. That's what religions are. And they need everybody. They need caring and love. And so that's why in the world all you hear about is how great that love is. It's the exact same as like how great that Jesus is. How great Jesus got me to win this football game. So many players, they rely on Jesus for that, or they rely on love. I guess that's fine. I guess that's fine. I would like to rely on Jesus, rely on love. That's not the hand that I was dealt. I don't really care. I don't love that much, but I'm just saying, like, everybody needs to figure out how loved you are for real, because all that it is, everybody's getting gaslit all the time about love, because all we know that, like, that's so good. People will tell you that they love you just because it's a good thing to say love. People are virtue signaling love. People will just say, like, oh, it's positive to say love, so people are saying that because it gets you likes or whatever. So people like love. It's always, oh, I'm on the side of love. No, nobody can stand up to love. It's the same thing as, like, well, actually, Jesus is really good. So that's always what it is. It's always the argument. It's like, actually, there's a lot of persecution against people that want to say that Jesus is bad. There's, like, it's so rare that you find somebody like me who specifically discriminates against Christianity. Where the fuck do you find that ever else? I don't see it. I've never seen it. All the Christians are saying they're endlessly persecuted because, like, CNN said something anti-religious or some general political thing where it's, like, something that applies to everybody. Like, it happens in politics, like, oh, they're legislating that you shouldn't read religious books or something. Like, some law happens in one specific place. Some law happens, and Christians are like, oh, see, they're persecuting us. It's just because they have the power of narration enough to tell everybody the most that they're the most persecuted. That is the only reason why it might come across that Christians are like, why are they persecuted? Why are people trying to suppress this information? You know who's trying to suppress Christian information? Christians. They don't have very many windows in their churches. They're like, this is a secret. They separate themselves so that there can be something significant about what they're doing. You don't get to be a Christian if you're not separated from the world. If it's not a secret, that shit doesn't even exist. Like, something has to make you separate. Something has to make it a secret society. It has to do with, like, the suppression of information. Suppression of, like, you're not going to hear it from the mainstream that Christians own 55% of the world's wealth, because then we would have to really have a different discussion about, like, oh, the 1%, and, like, oh, we hate fucking billionaires, whatever it is. Then we'd have to, like, say that we don't like Christians. It's like, well, that's not the point of why we say we hate billionaires. It's some other reason, you know. But then we can't, I mean, them in comparison to to Islam, the next organized religion. Islam is like owns 5% of the world's wealth. Muslims. That's what's so ridiculous about this stat. It's like, yeah, well, there are a lot of Christians. That's why they own 55%. It's like 32% of the world are Christians. They own 55% of the world's wealth. Next closest organized religion is Muslims at 5%. Yeah, the only people making it that the knowledge of, like, what makes you Christian and what's good about it, like, nobody's saying the fucking sentences. People will be like, I share. It's like somebody who goes on TV, whoever, like a quarterback of a team that says, like, I got here because of Christ. It's one thing to say Jesus Christ. They're not telling you what makes you a Christian. They're not telling you, like, this is a pathway to heaven, that it's, like, this very serious thing. Like, you have to say these 4 sentences, and that's what I'm all about. It's because they're suppressing the information. There's no persecution there. They're not putting themselves on the line to be persecuted for anything. Besides saying, oh, religion, which everybody is already fucking fine with. All right? So, like, Mel Gibson goes on Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan and Mel Gibson have a discussion. I get that it's, like, very popular to be Christian right now. This is another reason why I don't it's not like I like being myself right now, at least. It's okay to hate yourself. It's okay to hate what's going on in your life. People are like, oh, don't hate yourself. No. People get so sad. It's not like I hate myself every minute. You can hate yourself at different times. Especially for, like, doing things like saying you're the Antichrist or whatever. In a world that's, like, really pro-Christian. Why, I should be hating myself some of the time. But it's like, why wouldn't we hang this guy out to dry? It's not like I have to be on the side of this guy. And for all of that, but it's like, for all of the things I would say, for the different times, different things I'm saying, I don't have to be on the side of it retroactively or whatever, because I'm not on board with the thing I say all the time. I was on board with it at the time that I said it, you know? I'm saying that goes for everything, for everyone. That's not just my fucking problem. It's like, oh, you're a liar. No, everybody's a liar. It's like everybody's on board with all of their statements after the fact for all of their life, because otherwise we can't trust you. Words are so fickle. Words are so, like, do you notice how you can find like 30 synonyms for the word disperse? That's because it varies. That's because, like, you know, there's other shit that's like that. There's other shit that's like this, but like you have to put it in some sort of words so that the appearance can be made, so that you can surface as something that somebody can so people can understand you. You have to convey yourself through something. So it's not my fault or anybody's fault that language is so finite. That you have to choose, like, you end up having to choose a certain set of words to convey yourself through. It's miscommunication is what's happening whenever somebody talks, because it's infiniteness that's behind it. Like, the thoughts in your brain is a lot more, the subconscious is a lot more nebulous and amorphous. But then when it comes through, it has to come through to like a specific set of words. Okay, obviously. I've harped on this idea very many times, but like the specific set of words is the surface. That's what the surface world is. That's what people like, is the person that is very good at communicating themselves in those specifics the right way. Because the difference between somebody laughing at your joke and not laughing at it is basically just like tweaking a word or tweaking the way you said it. Because if you said it in the wrong tone for the wrong word, if you accented it at the wrong time, people were like, that's not funny. Because I think funniness is just not speaking to the thing that you're speaking to, or like not being on board, not being with it, not being so on board with like the realistic, obvious thing you're saying. You have to be outside of it and commenting on it. You have to be commenting on it in a way that runs counter to the way that it sounds to people. Yeah, whatever. I don't, it's just like, I know funny, and that's why it's not funny to describe funny. I'm not saying I'm being funny right now, okay? I'm just being like a serious Sally. I'm saying check your love, because everybody is going to tell you they love you. There's a lot of people that are unlovable. Like, I might get it in my head, I'm lovable to the world. Enough people tell me they love me. Like, oh, I must be a lovable person. What I'm saying is, no, it's not like, oh, I love myself. It's also, I hate myself. Please, tell yourself that. It's like, never allow yourself to dislike what you're doing. When it's like half the fucking shit you're doing is dislikable or wrong. Don't be wrong. Don't be wrong. You have to love and be behind all of the things. You're nothing but, you're a consistent human being. You're truthful. You're honest. What a lie. What a lie that people are honest. Or that, like, that's the standard. Like, that's what's expected of you. That's what everybody, like, there's this idea, I mean, it's a Christian idea, or it's like that we're being compared to the perfect guy, Jesus. I'm saying that that's more powerful than people give it credit for. Time is based off of him. But I mean, like, what a lie that there's this, even if it's not Jesus, that there might be a person out there that's like, oh, you gotta be honest. Sure, it helps you out to be honest. It's not true, though. It's not real. Honesty, like, oh, you gotta be consistent. You gotta be consistent. It helps you out to be consistent. It might make you more money. It's not real, because even in your consistency, even in the consistency that people are putting out, like Theo Von, he makes a lot of money for being a consistent person, or like being honest on camera. It's not. in real life, where pop culture is just the things that you're seeing around you. Pop culture, like, if you've lived a life you're not, like, recording yourself in any regard, that's real to you. That's popular. Despite that there's very many people that are like, I'm popular because I'm recording myself, you know? What's popular is just the regular shit, the nothingness. Nothingness is pop culture. That's popular. Everybody's experiencing mundane nothingness, asinine conversations, whatever. Not to make it derogatory, not to look down on it. Just like the run-of-the-mill conversations you're having. Nothingness, that's pop culture, because that's popularly everybody's experiencing all the time. Dishonesty, that's popular because that's real. The shit that's not on camera, that's real. It would be, what's fake is saying, I want to be, like, I don't know, to be good you have to be honest. Like, that's maybe true. So what's the value in me saying, breaking it down that honesty isn't real? I'm just trying to figure out what trying to understand what I'm saying with that. It's like, you gotta be honest. I guess it's something that Jordan Peterson might say, like, oh, you definitely have to be an honest person. Maybe that's why I'm saying, like, that is real. It's true. It's a good pointer for you. It's a good, like... So, like, is there any value in recognizing that honesty is bad? It's not real. Like, I don't know what I'm getting lost a little bit for what I was saying. I can't disregard all of the Christians. And I feel like I don't have to be anti-Christian so much anymore now that I've reached the pinnacle of that. Maybe I don't have... I'm trying to get to the other side of it where I'm not, like, deranged by the church, where I'm always always angry at them, always negative towards them. I don't want to be that. I don't want to be the person who does that. Those people get narrated out of existence, but I'm built different, is the hope. Like, because it's everybody, there's all kinds of stand-ups that are, like, only make it to open mics, that are, like, they have this story about how the church wronged them. I get that everybody hates that person always. That person is so hated because their story is seen as so invalid, because everybody's like, yeah, quit complaining. To that person specifically, who gets more hated than that fucking person? Somebody who's, like, disenfranchised by the church, that they're, like, complaining about it and that's their story afterward. That was never... I totally, whether you believe me or not, understand that life of that person, and I'm not positive towards it either, just because that's the way you're supposed to react to it. It's because those people don't have a story in comparison to the story of the church, which has, like, so many millions of people. They get to say whatever. It's just that there's a standard of, like, oh yeah, you do have to be honest and you have to be this honest in order to be successful. That's what's a lie. You have to be this honest in order to be successful. You might get it in your head that going wrong makes you a failure. It's not really, like, going wrong is not going to be what undoes you. Being dishonest is not going to be what undoes you, because even the people that are most successful, they have lived a life of consistent dishonesty alongside the life of honesty. Maybe they're just good at putting the honesty on camera, and, like, that's what makes them successful. Or putting the goodness on camera, the positivity on camera. Because people don't want to see anything negative on camera because they know that you didn't have to film yourself. So, like, people don't want to, just in general, not just on camera, even if you're, like, a salesman or something, you have to be positive when you're there, or else the selling isn't going to happen. For sales, for anything you're selling, what's important is just to be positive. Same as being on stage doing comedy. What people want is for you to just smile the entire time and laugh, like, see what I'm saying is funny, be positive. even when you're making a joke against people or whatever. So like you want to reserve the honesty for when you're recorded, or in other words, when people see you. That's when you need to be positive, but it doesn't mean that you're not negative, you know? It's just like positives and platitudes like that are just like, oh, you've got to be positive. You've got to be positive when you're selling somebody something, or just like when you're around people, because anytime you're hanging out with people, like you're selling yourself. Interpersonally, when you're in front of people, or other people are kind of like recording devices that see you and then whatever, that's where you got to be positive. As you already know, but it's just like people don't accept when it's a lot harder to sell negativity. What I was saying was that vitality words are just like, I was saying words are a remedy. Words are like a feeling, like they're an emotion, like they're a drug, you know? Every word is a different drug, and the thing that it is like what it's describing, like vitality, saying like, oh, I have a lot of vitality to offer, especially when I don't use that drug just to give myself vitality. I haven't before, not until now. In case you need some vitality, just say vitality really loud, or just get into the mood of vitality. If you would, please. Folks, friends, lose yourself to vitality. Die in the arms of vitality, if you would, please. But I want to be vital. Vitality, like words are a drug like that. I think that when humans first started using words, they were probably afraid, like, same as everything, they were really superstitious to move on, graduate to the next level of doing things, and it probably took them years and years just to accept, like, the theory or the ideology of using words, like, because that's an ideology that you have to embrace and say that that's okay to do, because words are kind of like drugs where the feeling of, like, vitality can affect you. I don't know what way it affects everybody. I'm sensitive to the feelings of words, but they are all feelings. They're drugs. They're drugs with different properties that do different things. They influence. You can't deny it. They influence, but like, it's weird that we as humans have gotten so high on these drugs that we're like, above it. We're so used to these drugs, we've gotten so high on them that we just like are going to higher and higher levels of words and like finding new words all the time. Like, we're using up the drug of these words and we're discarding old drugs that don't do it for us anymore. We need to get high. But think about what it was like before, when we first started to accept speech. It was probably something like a lot of difficulty in getting all of the cavemen or whatever it was, all of the apes, to accept that was okay. They're probably like terrified just based on what that drug does to you. Like, they would have recognized, just generally as they were started to first begin to incorporate speech or make speech a thing, there's just a lot of superstition you have to overcome in order to take a step that big, where you're like talking in words. Like, animals haven't taken that step, but just the step of us becoming the most dominant species we must have overcome quite a bit of superstition, and to accept that was possible, just to say like, oh, we really are that dominant, because like even today, in today's world, we're not really comfortable saying that we're smarter than anybody else, but like that it got to the point that we were able to accept that we are the smartest species, the most dominant species. Like, that's definitely what we are. There's definitely a lot of fear that we had to overcome in order to say that was true. Like, embrace that we are that specially called, like that special of a species. We're the best species for sure. Absolutely. It's weird that there's a knowledge bank that is definitively better than another knowledge bank, like the intelligence we have as humans versus the intelligence that animals have. It's definitively better to have the intelligence we have. It's like that knowledge is better. Maybe that's something that's described in Adam and Eve with the knowledge of good and evil, because I think that when they ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, it's something like speech. I think is a semi-popular interpretation of what that story means. It's like when humans first started to clothe themselves in speech, sort of like that they're first able to talk. I forget why I think that would be true. It just like symbolically maybe represents that, but like the knowledge, just accepting that there's knowledge that is definitively better. It's really hard to get to that point because we want everything to be an argument. It's almost like, what if there was an answer between conservatism and liberalism? What if one of them was right and we graduated to one of them and then we just use that always forever? That's what happened with humans becoming the most dominant species in the world. Like, oh, for some reason there isn't an argument. But I bet that at the time before we arose to that, that's like the biggest step in history, us calling ourselves humans, as opposed to like whatever only seeing ourselves as some other animal, where it's like, or coming up with the words to distinguish ourselves that way, to distinguish ourselves as humans or more special than an animal. The graduation of that knowledge is like one of the biggest steps ever in human history. It's the same as saying, it would be like if conservative or liberal, one of them was right, and then we're like, oh, that one is absolutely the best. Because I bet that it was a big argument. It would have been like saying, oh, we are, just to overcome the certainty of what you know in order to graduate, like go into the fear and the superstition of like us saying, no, we're not just dumb animals, which is all that we know, all that we're certain about, because that's always the thing, is like you have to overcome, it's hard to overcome what we presently all agree on and what we all say is popular. There's a lot that has to be done to overcome that, to move to like a better knowledge. But it's weird that there are knowledges that are better than other ones, like definitively. So saying like whatever brings you into the world, it's just like, what is it that brings somebody into the light? What is the memory that causes you to come into the thinking world when you're like 3 or 4 years old? The first memory that is like, oh, now I'm in the better knowledge of the people that think and remember the shit, rather than before you were just in the shitty, like baby knowledge, baby to 2 to 3-year-old knowledge of never remembering it, but like something pulled you into consciousness at some point. For everybody, we did that as humans when we became like humans, or just like came up with the words to describe it. But words are a drug like that. Like that's some magical high, that's some knowledge that is like there's answers in there that you wouldn't get other places. But now as humans, we are so above words that we're just like, it's not doing it for us anymore, just like having words. It's like we're so above words that's a free commodity, where it's like most shit you have to pay for. Words, we can do whatever we want with them, in whatever way that we want. Speaking of babies, what about the insult where people call you a baby? People insult. It's just that insult you don't really have an answer. There isn't really an answer for that insult, because I'm not going to be like, you call me a baby, or you reference it. It's something you have to go out of your way to reference, is what's interesting about it. I have never looked at anyone and been like, oh yeah, you're a baby. Like, to insult them with that has never really crossed my mind. I wouldn't seek to put out that negative energy into the world. I don't see why you would. I see a person, I'm like, oh, that's a person. It doesn't cross my mind that they're a baby, you know? But like that, so many people use this insult and they think that it's so great. Like, oh, you're a baby. I don't know what that's about. Because, I mean, it's something you can get everybody for. It's like a common insult. It basically does nothing. It's like an insult that has no effect, but it's also like, you call somebody a baby, or you make them a baby, because there isn't a response to that. I can't be like, no, I'm a man, you know. Be like, no, I'm a 32-year-old man, actually, you know. There's not really a response. You're not like, what are you supposed to do? Get offended? Like, you know what I mean? Everybody was a baby. Like, somebody calls you a baby, just be like, whoa, you were a baby. Like, remember that? Shit, what was that like? Fuck, you were one. Remember when that happened? Like, babies are, I mean, but everybody was a baby. So it's like, yeah, we all kind of, it's like, why the negativity? All insults are like that. All insults are stupid. They're like, well, that doesn't really have any effect. if you want to go that far, that's just like, maybe that's a kind of a knowledge that we all need to graduate to. We're like, criticism doesn't matter because they're just responses. It doesn't matter. It's funny, like, somebody would insult me, call me a baby when I'm not, and then they would call me white to insult me when I am. Like, it's not really about the accuracy. Insulting somebody is not about the accuracy. When you're like talking shit to somebody, it's the only thing that's important is that you tell them something they don't want to hear. Like, call me a black man. That's what I want. I mean, that's what people are thinking. They call to insult me to be white. Like, yeah, you're white. That's not, like, you're just bending the rules. Criticism is a lie. Like, that's really inconsistent. Because you don't get to insult me for, like, oh, I really am that, and then insult me for, no, I'm not that. Like, so much not that. Like, oh, like, insult me for being a woman. Like, biologically, no. Like, I'm the opposite of that. It's just like, insult me for being the opposite of it, and insult me for being directly what that is. What are we doing? There's gotta be, like, obviously it's just about saying something that the person doesn't want to hear. And what I'm critiquing right now about criticism is just, like, how negative it is. Like, because it's really not all criticism that's like that. That it's negative. Because there's a lot of funny shit where people criticize you with. It's funny. And that's positive. I'm criticizing the negative criticism, which is just like, you don't get to just say whatever the fuck, you know. There has to be funniness tied to it in order for me to value it, because I recognize the difference between positive and negative criticism, or am interested in better levels of criticism that aren't shitty. It's just like the shitty levels of criticism are the ones where it's like somebody just will throw anything to make fun of you, you know? And that's just negative. It's not personal, it's not loving. It can be loving if you make it personal. I don't mind criticism, you know? There's good criticism and there's bad criticism. Bad criticism is like somebody who thinks that they deserve credit for throwing an insult at me that's completely accurate, while then in the next sentence say something that's completely off. Like, oh, it's just about somebody who's like, oh, it's just about criticism. You know? Cut it out. It's not about that. It's about it's about loving other people. You know? I'm not saying like, I'm not directing that at any critics of mine. Like, literally, I couldn't think of a person right now that it's like strangers might have done that to me, but like, strangers might have done that thing where they're the one that I don't like or whatever. It's like everybody was a baby. Words are that drug where it's like but I mean, we fucking brought ourselves into some new ideology. Just like the knowledge of knowing that Santa Claus ain't real versus the one and knowing that he is. You need to graduate to the knowledge where he's not. There's a divide like that. Basically, there's just like a lot of shit coming out of pastors' mouths. Like so many pastors all across the country at different churches spewing shit all the time, because like it's not like what they say is like from their own experience, like, oh, they're only speaking on their own authority. They're speaking on that everybody believes that God told them what to say or whatever. With me, I actually have to come up with logical arguments because my religion is so on my own. It's not corroborated by a giant like gang of people. So like my narration is my own. You realize I have to do a lot of work to be honest. Like, you know, that's different from a pastor is just given a pass no matter what, because they're like, oh, I'm on the side of this very popular thing, established thing that everybody already will give me credit for saying these, because I just like in the position that is whatever, this very authoritarian, like the value is just on the position. It doesn't even matter who fills it. It's like the position of pastor is already given credit for, like called by God. It doesn't even matter who fills it a lot of the time. Like people, churchgoers will not like a pastor versus another one, but like they still be like, oh, you're called by God, even if there was somebody they didn't like their speeches. But there's too much of that I would be able to take it on my own. I'm not a good enough of a leader, an individualist, and I just want to be cooler. I just want to be like somebody else. Not that I necessarily know how to do that. I don't know about, the lot that I've been given is whatever it is, but love you all, folks, and it's just like love is a value of communist, like works in the community. You have to exchange in love and caring and like that for it to be communal environment, and like that is really emphasized in the world quite a bit. Love. So I'm like, say negative things about love. Say that you hate. You don't have to take on the burden of being like, oh, I like myself and all the things I said. Like, definitely hate yourselves at sometimes. You're afraid at sometimes. You're embarrassed at sometimes. It's not like, oh, I love myself, and that you have to keep up that charade, like, oh, I'm always honest, or like that makes me a good person, or whatever the fuck. That's just for like, hopefully you do that only publicly, all the good shit or something. But it's like, it's a lie if you're saying like that's the way that humans are, like completely honest, completely good. I don't, something like that. But so thank you and good night. Goodbye. Talk to you all later.